for the arrival of the Honorable Custos Stedman Fuller, representing His Excellency the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen, Governor General. Shall we have the anthem, please? Be seated. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my profound pleasure to welcome you to the Jamaica Teachers Association 2021 Roll of Honour Award presentation ceremony. This ceremony is taking place at a time when we are confronted with challenges and restraints brought on by COVID-19 pandemic, and in particular, recent announcement regarding a new strain, Omicron variant. I therefore wish to express gratitude to all of you for making the sacrifice to be here this afternoon. This is quite an auspicious occasion, an occasion of joy, as we have all come together to celebrate with our 2021 recipient as she takes the Roll of Honour award. Your presence here, ladies and gentlemen, has certainly added to the grace and panache of this ceremony. I wish to extend a very special welcome to the Honourable Stedman Fuller, CDJP, Custos Rotulorum for the Parish of Kingston, representing His Excellency the Governor General. Shall we put our hands together as we welcome him? Dr. Casson Troop. I'm not seeing her yet. My sincere apology. You're not someone who is easily overlooked. Dr. Casson Troop, Chief Education Officer Acting, representing the Honorable Minister of Education, Youth and Information. There's no charge for clapping her. Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, opposition spokesperson on education and training. And of course, our own president, Mr. Winston Smith. And seated close to him is our president-elect, Mrs. LaSonia Harrison. And while I expect the clapping to deteriorate, I would expect it towards the end of the function. Reverend Carl Henlin, our guest speaker. Reverend Kirk Pinnock, pastor, Mandeville Circuit of Baptist Churches. Dr. Mark Nicely, Secretary General, Jamaica Teachers Association. And we pause to congratulate you, Dr. Nicely, who recently assumed the position of Secretary General, and extend to you our very best wishes. The lady of the evening, Mrs. Cecilia Grant Francis, our 2021 recipient. I must acknowledge the trustees who are present. Shall we put our hands together for them? Past presidents, our special guests, we have members of Central Executive and General Council, members of staff of the Jamaica Teachers Association. Welcome. Some of you would be acquainted with the Chinese proverb that says, if you're planning for a year, sow rice. If you're planning for a decade, plant trees. If you're planning for a lifetime, educate people. And that's exactly what our honoree has done. When you educate people, you empower them, and those you empower will empower others. And so your impact on education, your impact on nation building will therefore be great. All of us know that teaching is not an easy job. And anyone who commits 46 years of his or her life to the classroom is deserving of recognition and applause. Shall we put our hands together for our honoree? We will now have the announcement of the award to be done by Dr. Charmaine Good-Monteith, Deputy Secretary General, Administration, Human Resource and Finance.
Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Devon Meek, Regional Officer for the Northeast Region, the Honorable Stedman Fuller, CD, JP, Custos Rotolorum for the Parish of Kingston, representing His Excellency the Governor General, Dr. Casson Troop, Chief Education Officer Acting, representing the Honorable Minister of Education, Youth and Information, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, Opposition Spokesperson on Education and Training, Mr. Winston Smith, President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, Mrs. LaSonia Harrison, President-elect of the Jamaica Teachers Association, apologies for Mr. Jasfred Gabriel, Reverend Carl Henlin, guest speaker, Reverend Kirk A. Pinnock and Mrs. Pinnock from the Mandeville Circuit of Baptist Churches, Dr. Mark Nicely, Secretary General of the Jamaica Teachers Association, Mrs. Cecilia Grant Francis, the 2021 recipient of the JTA Roll of Honour Award, past recipients, trustees, past presidents, special guests, members of Central Executive, members of staff of the Jamaica Teachers Association, representatives of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is indeed an honor and a pleasure to announce the 2021 recipient of the JTA Roll of Honour Award to this gathering this afternoon. The Jamaica Teachers Association believes in honoring those who have given service beyond the call of duty to the building of the nation. Moreover, it believes that those who have given distinguished service should be honored while they can appreciate the recognition and honor. It is for these reasons that we are gathered here this afternoon to honor an outstanding member of the teaching profession. The Roll of Honour Award was instituted in 1977 to honor outstanding members. The award is made in recognition of excellent contribution to education by a Jamaican national consistent with the JTA's Code of Ethics. The Roll of Honour, by its very nature, demands of the nominees the highest level of probity and professional conduct. The award seeks to emphasize excellence in service and not just long and faithful service, although the association acknowledges with pride such service. The criteria for the award are: the nominee shall have made teaching his or her career, shall have given not less than 20 years of service to teaching in Jamaica, be a member of the Jamaica Teachers Association, be a Jamaican citizen by birth or naturalization. Nominations are made by the executive committees of parish associations, interest groups within the association, a subcommittee of the General Council of the association. This selection is made by a special awards committee comprising a past recipient who chairs the committee, the presidents, the chairman of the Professional Advancement and Teacher Welfare Committee, the chairman of the Awards Committee, and 2 outstanding members of the community. The committee, after deliberation, selects 1 or the most 2 persons from among the nominees and sends a recommendation to the Central Executive for approval. So, we are here gathered this afternoon to honor a colleague who has indeed met the qualifying conditions to be awarded this prestigious Roll of Honour award. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening we honor an outstanding member of the association. It is indeed my pleasure to announce that Mrs. Cecilia Grant Francis, retired principal of the Porus Primary School, is the 2021 recipient of the JTA Roll of Honour Award. Congratulations, Mrs. Grant Francis. Your colleagues are very proud of you and they wish you the very best for the future. May God continue to bless and strengthen you as you continue contributing to the building of a better Jamaica.
Thank you, Dr. Monteith. Shall we hear it again for our recipient? Now that the award has been announced, it is appropriate to have the invocation. I will now invite Reverend Kirk Pinnock to do the invocation. Reverend.
There is never a wrong time to pray. Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Devon Meeks, Honorable Stedman Fuller, CD, JP Costas Rotalorm for the parish of Kingston and representative of the Governor General, and all other distinguished guests, and in particular, our honoree this day, good afternoon. 1 John 5, verse 5 asks a question. Who is it that overcomes the world? And then it answers said question. Only the one who believes that Jesus is the Son of God. Who is it that overcomes the world? Only the one who believes that Jesus is the Son of God. We live in a world where we are faced with darkness. It pervades every element and aspect of our society. The church, the school, the government, business, every sphere is to some degree cloaked in darkness. And the darkness could not overcome and has overcome the world. As we gather, we have the opportunity to retake this world from the darkness. But we can only do so if we believe in the one who has already overcome the darkness. We are able then to bring light into every sphere, every corner, every crevice of our society when we demonstrate faith in the name of Jesus. And it is in that name we will have the light to overcome this world. So therefore, we look now to that name in prayer and invite that presence to be with us, to guide us, so that the education system will overcome COVID and that we will be able to be victorious even though the odds are stacked against us with the ever new variants. I invite us then to look to the name of Jesus in prayer. Please bow your heads with me as we pray. God of creation, you called us away from the cares of this world to acknowledge your power and your grace at work and among us. You raised mountains up. You caused valleys to be made low. You established all of earth in your order and by your design. By your grace, you settled us in families of your choosing, caused us to be raised in a manner of your design. And now we gather in this place to honor you and to invite your presence to guide us. God who commissions, you have challenged us in the academic sphere and led us by your grace into professions where we can contribute to our community. And by that grace, Lord, you've granted us the longevity, the stick-to-itiveness, and the ability to endure through dangers, snares, and toils. And for that we thank you. And Lord, when we have served and have come to the end of our service, you continue to equip us to give more beyond our years. By means of your grace, you establish us in other ways to make a difference in this world. And for that reason, Lord, we invite your presence now to guide this day of celebration, where we recognize one who has been serving faithfully in your vineyard. Be with us now. Open up all opportunities for joy in our inner being. And as we give ourselves to you, take full control and have full dominion over all that will be said and done this afternoon. Here now, Lord, we present ourselves afresh. Take here all that we offer to you and use it for your glory. In the overcoming name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, who lives and who reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend, for invoking God's presence, and we know that we are guided by him and will be so for the rest of this function. The Roll of Honour award ceremony, in fact, the Roll of Honour is the highest award given by the Jamaica Teachers Association. And the number of persons who would want to be here this afternoon are not able to be present because of the restrictions associated with COVID-19. But we know that hundreds of them have tuned in, and so I want to say a special welcome to those persons who are attending, persons on Facebook, on YouTube, and the JTA website. His Excellency, the Governor General, would be happy to be with us this afternoon. In fact, would want to be with us, but is unable to be here. He's ably represented by the Custos Rotulorum for the parish of Kingston, the Honorable Stedman Fuller. I will now invite him to bring the patron's message.
Master of Ceremonies, Dr. Cassan Troop, representing the Minister of Education, Dr. Angela Braunberg, Opposition Spokesman on Education, Reverend Kirk Pinnock, Pastor, Mandeville Circuit of Baptist Churches, Reverend Carl Henlin, Pastor, Gregory Park Baptist Church, Circuit of Churches, Mr. Winston Smith, President, and other members of the Jamaica Teachers Association, Dr. Nicely, Secretary General, Mrs. Celia Grant Francis, the 2021 JTA Roll of Honour Award recipients and family, my fellow educators, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good afternoon to you all. His Excellency the Governor General regrets he's unable to be present this afternoon. So the distinct honor is mine to represent him and read his message. And I must tell you that I've had the responsibility, this very nice responsibility, for several unbroken years to represent His Excellency at this function. I'm not too sure if it's because he knows that I'm a teacher by profession, that he gives me this distinct honor to be here. The Governor General's message. Each year at this time, the Jamaica Teachers Association celebrates the achievements of one of its many distinguished members in the Roll of Honour Award. I congratulate the leadership and members of the association for promoting excellence in the organization and by extension the nation. Since its inception in 1977, the Jamaica Teachers Association Roll of Honour Award has recognized 52 distinguished and outstanding educators. These are professionals whose dedication and commitment to education have earned them the admiration, respect, and acclamation of their peers, their students, and the wider Jamaican society. The Roll of Honour Award is the highest honor that is conferred by the JTA on our nation's teachers and emphasizes the promotion of excellence in performance, integrity, and sound professional conduct. Even as teachers engage their students and make them excited about learning, these are values that they must be passionate about and transmit to their students. I joined the JTA and the education fraternity in congratulating Mrs. Cecilia Grant Francis, an outstanding transformational educator who is this year's recipient of the Roll of Honour Award. She has demonstrated the high level of commitment, courage, and consistency which we need from our leaders today, especially in the field of education and community development. Mrs. Grant Francis' unwavering passion for the development and welfare of children at the primary and secondary levels of the education system and her advocacy for equity for more than 46 years have benefited countless students, teachers, families, and communities across Jamaica. Mrs. Grant Francis has undoubtedly left a positive and lasting impact on hundreds of Jamaicans, even as she transitions into other areas of community work. Thank you, Mrs. Grant Francis, for your service to the nation. The achievements of all the recipients of the Roll of Honour have created a benchmark against which educators and other professionals who impact the lives of people could measure their contribution in shaping the nation's future. Despite limited resources, Jamaican teachers have been doing a remarkable job in producing world-class scholars. Our youngsters compete with the best of the world, and their own achievement is a result of teaching and coaching. My experience in the teaching profession has helped me to appreciate the contribution which educators have to make to the building of our country. In many situations, they have been lifelines to the struggling, motivations for the self-doubting, and pathway guides to the wayward among us. In shaping a society to meet both the challenges and the opportunities of this rapidly changing world, I encourage our educators to emphasize individual self-confidence, foster a spirit of innovation, and empower students to apply the content and the skills which a rounded education will provide. I take this opportunity to wish the JTA and its membership every success as you continue to recognize the educators of our country. I thank you very much. That's from the Governor General. And I offer my personal congratulations to Mrs. Grant Francis for the contribution, immeasurable contribution that she has made to education. Thank you very much.
So my task has gone beyond that of a chairman. Thank you, Costas, for those very kind words. On behalf of the Governor General, it is always a pleasure to hear the Honorable Costas speaks. It's always. Give him another round of applause. I'm not sure if he has ever been engaged in the teaching profession. And for how long? You see, I wasn't finished. What I would want to talk with the President and the Secretary General about is how to make him, if he's not a member at this time, how to make him a member of the association. He's deserving of it. Give him another round of applause. As I heard him speak about the exciting of students, how teachers should excite their students, it reminded me of the young teacher who joined the profession some years ago. And she went to school one morning and decided to teach a lesson on mathematics. In fact, she chose the topic fractions. And having taught the lesson, she did like most of you do. She asked the students, "Do you understand? Do you understand?" She asked about 3 times. There was a little boy in the class whose name was Johnny. It's, something, Johnny is always the person who is involved in these things. Johnny never spoke with anybody at school. He never played with the other students. He ate by himself. And the 3rd time when she asked, "Do you understand?" Johnny stuck his hand in the air. You can imagine how frightened the teacher was. And she stuttered. She said, yes, Johnny. Yes, Johnny. And Johnny said boldly, "Miss, how would you share 7 guavas among 15 students?" The teacher was flabbergasted. Not that she couldn't answer the question, but because of who asked the question. And she went silent for a minute, and she walked away, and then she came back and she said, "Make jam, make jam, make jam, make jam." And she kept saying, "Make jam." And so she ended the class and sent the students for break. And during the break time, she contemplated and she realized that her response was not appropriate. And so she decided to do what you shouldn't do. She decided to revenge Johnny. So when they resumed, she taught a lesson on social studies. The topic of the lesson was islands in the Caribbean. And at the end of the lesson, like she did earlier in the morning, she asked, "Do you understand?" And she asked about 3 times. And everybody said, "Yes, miss." And she said, "Mary, name me one island in the Caribbean." And Mary said, 80. And she said, "You boy who asked about the guava this morning, name me another island." And Johnny said, 90, miss. I will now invite our president, Mr. Winston Smith, to bring remarks.
I am sure I'm not 90. That much I'm certain of. I know I probably could pass for it to be little Johnny, though. Mr. Devon Meek, Regional Officer for the Northeast Region and Master of Ceremony for this evening's function. The Honorable Stedman Fuller, Custos Rotalorum for the parish of Kingston and representing our Governor General. The Reverend Carl Henlin, Pastor Gregory Park Baptist Church, our guest speaker. The Reverend Kirk Anthony Pinnock, Pastor, Mandeville Baptist Church. Dr. Casson Troop, Acting Chief Education Officer, representing the Minister of Education, Youth and Information. Dr. Angela Brown Burke, Opposition Spokesman on Education and Training. Dr. Mark Donald Byrne Nicely, newly minted Secretary General of the Jamaica Teachers Association. Mrs. Lasonia Harrison, President-elect of the Jamaica Teachers Association. Mr. Joshua Gabriel in Astemshire, the immediate past president of the Jamaica Teachers Association. Mrs. Cecilia Grant Francis. Our 2021 Roll of Honour awardee. Past Roll of Honour awardees who are present. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen in the physical as well as the virtual space, good afternoon. It is my very special pleasure to salute another of our colleagues, Mrs. Cecilia Grant Francis, who has made an outstanding contribution to preparing our children to play their role as future adult citizens and leaders of our nation. Everything begins with a teacher. And since the inception 57 years ago, the Jamaica Teachers Association has sought to enhance education and support national development through transformation of our human capital. Our association rests on two pillars: professional development of our members and industrial relations to protect the rights of every member. And again, I say every member. While we pursue these goals, we also promote excellence and recognize members for sterling contributions to the organization and the nation over a sustained period. The R.C. Tavares, Edith Dalton James, and W.B. Ben Hawthorne Awards are among the initiatives which have established a culture of integrity and professionalism amongst our members. The Roll of Honour is the Rolls Royce of our awards, and we are truly thankful to the commitment of the educators who have worked against many odds to earn this award, which is the local teaching professionals' highest accolade. They have provided a sterling example of quality service to our students, colleagues, and members of the wider society. Today, our education system is experiencing myriads of challenges. These include the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting change in the learning environment brought about by teaching in the virtual space. At the same time, the sector continues to suffer from inadequate human, technological, and financial resources. Ladies and gentlemen, while we continue to seek innovative ways to address our educational challenges, we must be mindful that we need to allow time to adjust and effectively evaluate new programs and directives if we are to achieve our desired growth and objectives. We commend the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information for its foresight and leadership in introducing the Alternative Pathway for Secondary Education, APS, the mandatory sixth form program, as well as the system of coding in schools. These strategies, ladies and gentlemen, would undoubtedly redound to the transformation of Jamaica's education system, provided that the necessary resources are allocated in an equitable manner to achieve the desired outcomes. Among these is the appointment of teachers in smaller class sizes and better remuneration to the hard-working practitioners. Colleagues, if we fail to do so, then our more qualified and experienced professionals will have no choice but to leave our shores for greener pastures. And I hear Bob Marley sing Exodus, movement of Jamaican people. And in this case, I would say Jamaican teachers. In fact, had it not been for the pandemic, COVID-19, there would certainly have been the commencement of that exodus. Nevertheless, despite the many challenges that threaten the education sector, I submit that the age-old principle of giving our best with whatever resources we may have at our disposal still holds good. Our teachers will continue the struggle to ensure that we close the learning gaps and transform education for economic growth and sustainable development. Colleagues, during this conference here, the Jamaica Teachers Association has identified the strengthening of its human resource as a base of priority as we seek to grow and develop. Consequently, for the first time in our history, the members of the General Council were trained in industrial relations as we seek to be preventative rather than prescriptive. We have to minimize the amount of grievances at the local level. We want our focus to be on developing the minds of our students. Bearing in mind the theme for the conference here, bridging the digital divide, transforming education for economic growth and sustainable development. I believe that as a country, we ought to seek to do the same. We must renew our focus, colleagues, on the way we train our educators. To this end, we are also working to strengthen the relationship between the Jamaica Teachers Association and our teachers' colleges, so that our students leaving the Teachers' College will be adequately ready and knowledgeable as they embark on the world of work in the profession. Colleagues, the JTA, in demonstrating its social responsibility and its commitment to national development, through the General Council, has approved the expenditure of $2 million for the development of schools in each of our 4 regions. And I think we deserve to be applauded here. In closing, colleagues, while we continue to focus on upgrading the skills of our educators, we are mindful of the fact that improved financing of the sector is critical in providing a framework in which we can continue to build on the foundation for a better society. Without the requisite opportunities for meaningful development, more and more of our children are likely to opt out of the system and gravitate to wealth creation through nefarious means. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to use that word now, but the future of our nation, Dr. Troop and colleagues, rests heavily on what transpires at the Ministry of Finance. And I could not leave it out. We must, colleagues, at all begin to see education as the vanguard for national development and the catalyst for the attainment of our 2030 vision. And if we fail to do so, it doesn't matter the edifice we put up, it will collapse because the foundation was never set and secure. Therefore, I challenge all of us. Let us work together to bolster the spirit of national unity, which is the key to our survival in today's changing global environment. Colleagues, the education system is depending on us as we continue to unite and serve. Thank you.
That kind of presentation by the president of the JTA needs a better round of applause. I know, Mr. President, that the minister is well represented here, and of course, all things that are to be communicated will be communicated. Thank you, Mr. President. Before I invite Dr. Casson Troop to bring greetings, I'm going to give you an assignment. And when I dismiss school this evening, you can do it. And when I come back tomorrow, I'll give you the answer. What is the difference between a cat and a comma? Comma is a punctuation mark. What's the difference between a cat and a comma? I will now invite Dr. Casson Troop, Chief Education Officer, representing the Honorable Minister of Education, Youth and Information, to bring greetings. After Dr. Troop, we'll hear from Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, Opposition Spokesman on Education and Training. Shall we welcome Dr. Troop, please?
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. As I listened to the joke, I think I got the joke 3 times. Because, you know, once you hear the name Johnny, you're anticipating something, you know, out of order. So I think, Rev, I laughed 3 rounds before I got the real joke. So, Mr. Devon Meek, our moderator, Rev, the Honorable Stedman Fuller, my Custos. Pleased to see you, sir. Saw you on the launch a couple nights ago. Our guest speaker, Reverend Carl Henlin, the president who charged us just now and gave me a message to take back. And I know the negotiations are going well. To our honoree, Mrs. Cecilia Grant Francis, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's indeed my pleasure and delight to bring greetings on behalf of our minister, the Honorable Favour Williams, who is unable to be here due to prior commitments, but she would have asked me to extend heartiest congratulations to our honoree today. You know, annually, and I see Nadine smiling at me, because I remember being here last year as well, and she personally invited me, and it was a joy to be at the function knowing full well what it means, the representation of the award. And today we have another lady in red, Nadine, like you. We are really, really happy for this distinguished recognition to our teacher, one of our own. And each year when the JTA hosts a function of this nature, we are reminded in education that it's a collective effort to transform our country. The Ministry of Education cannot do it alone. We have to rely on many players in education like the JTA. And the JTA's honor roll is a public declaration, or more so a statement of appreciation for the work of a teacher who has done outstanding
work in the field of education. And it is a privilege bestowed upon the awardee by professionals. Your colleagues would have nominated you, which demonstrated and has demonstrated to us that you are more than worthy of it, because it's not just one person, but it has been through the rounds, and you would have competed, but your professional colleagues would have said you are more deserving. And this evening, I really want to say thanks to the JTA for that vision of pausing to recognize the excellence in our teachers. We are really, really grateful for that, and we are happy for this kind of Rolls-Royce kind of recognition, the highest honor. Teaching is an enormous privilege, a great responsibility, and it offers an unparalleled opportunity to change the lives of others. This is what Mrs. Cecilia Grant Francis represents, an individual that has worked hard. Her trajectory, having served as a pre-trained teacher, a trained teacher, an acting head of department, a bona fide senior teacher, then a principal, and then another principal. She moved. That's the kind of trajectory we have seen, the ideal path of an educator who has served at the highest level and have done us proud. She would have touched the lives of many. You are a hero without cape this evening. We salute you, we honor you, and we say congratulations on behalf of all those that you have touched, knowing full well that your influence is immortal. It has gone ahead of you. Thank you on behalf of our minister for all that you have done. You have served Jamaica well, and we are proud to stand with you this afternoon to say thanks on behalf of the families and many to come who will benefit from your service. God bless you richly, and again, heartiest congratulations.
It has nothing to do with politics.
Well, I never thought so. Master of Ceremonies, Honorable Custos, we haven't been meeting like this as we used to. We have to remedy that. Mr. Smith, President of the JTA, Dr. Nicely, Secretary General, Mrs. Lasagna Harrison, President-elect, our honoree, Mrs. Celia Grant Francis, past honorees, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Lord, man, no sound right. Good afternoon. I want to really give a sincere thanks to the leadership of the Jamaica Teachers Association for the invitation to bring greetings to this August gathering. Indeed, as an educator myself and the spokesperson for education and training, I am pleased that the JTA continues its traditions even in COVID, acknowledging the hard work of individuals who have made really transformational contribution to the education sector and to our children. I am particularly pleased to witness the induction of Mrs. Cecilia Grant Francis, retired principal of Porus Primary School, to the Roll of Honour, and to join the other distinguished members over the years. I will admit to you that last year I was unable to attend, and those of you who know that past honoree would know that I got a real tongue lashing. She is my friend and colleague and is really responsible for making sure that I do not miss another. And I'm not too big to say that. You know, it was Forrest Whitcraft who said, 100 years from now, it will not matter what car I drove, what kind of house I lived in, how much money I had in the bank, but that the world may be a better place because I made a difference in the life of a child. And I know that you all share that sentiment, and so too does the honoree. But I also believe that the kind of gesture that we are seeing here, while you're still able to appreciate it, is also quite heartwarming. I want, therefore, to commend you. As we all know, that day after day, as teachers, as educators, we come to the classroom, not just as teachers, but as mothers and fathers, loving mothers and fathers, as counselors, motivators, nurses, role models, as inspiration, giving of time and money, energy, and often digging deep into our reservoir of creativity and passion to ignite a love of learning and a desire to explore. I know that Mrs. Cecilia Grant Francis. I've had Foster in my head and I just don't want to say it. Grant Francis. I know that you have bravely undertaken the awesome task of molding so many of our young minds, grooming our future leaders, developing that confidence in self and respect of others all at the same time, and developing your own skills to interact with students as they test the boundaries of newly acquired skills that you have even helped to develop. In this global pandemic, it has been a lot more strenuous on everyone, from lack of resources to consistently give of your best, the threatening apathy among some of our parents and students, unstable connectivity on your part or that of your students, dealing with your own emotional health as well as that of your students. I have never heard so many issues related to long hours in front of the screen, long hours spent in a chair, and all of that. You have learned to deal with some overused and perhaps annoying phrases. You need to unmute. Your mic isn't on. Psychosocial support, and I could go on and on, but that's for another time. I know too that there are some other words that you would have loved to hear a little bit more of. Others like remuneration, increased remuneration, needed resources, required support. But that's a discussion for another time and another place. I am, however, very heartened by the enthusiasm and passion and the efforts that have not dimmed one bit in trying to reach those who are hard to reach, in trying to rekindle waning enthusiasm among our students by all of our teachers. I believe it is true to say that creativity turn up amongst our teachers. Turn up, yeah man, turn up. As you rose to meet the challenges, and at times you were undaunted, filled with hope for the capacity to learn that you know reside in each child. As I acknowledge how fiercely and confidently our teachers have faced this pandemic, let me also add my own words of gratitude on behalf of a nation that recognizes the contribution of all our teachers. A special, special word of thanks to our honoree this afternoon. May you continue, in the words of Alexandria Trenfor, to show our students where to look, but not tell them what to see. And in the words of Goethe, may you continue to treat people as if they were what they ought to be and help them become what they are capable of becoming. Blessings and thanks.
You have to remember now that the clap is for two persons, you know. Thank you very much, ladies, for your greetings. Thank you, Dr. Brown-Burke. We admire, well, both of you, your sense of humor. I gave you a question last night, an assignment. Yes, well, you know, it's online teaching, so I won't be able to look in your books. So I'll give you the answer online. The question was, what is the difference between a cat and a comma? No, but it means that you're communicating because you responded. I don't know what medium you're using. The question was, what is the difference between a cat and a comma? Cat has a tail. But you could put a tail on the comma if you want. Or one has clause at the end of its pause. The other has a pause at the end of a clause. As I listened to Dr. Troop, as she spoke about the ascendancy of Celia Grant Francis from a classroom teacher up the ladder, head of department and so on, it reminded me of my own experience as a primary school teacher some years ago. I remember one day I was doing a lesson on sentence construction. It was a grade 6 class. And, you know, some students write some very long sentences, and some write some very short ones. And I was discussing the length of the sentences, and for the short ones, I was telling them how they could use conjunctions, and but, and so on, to join those sentences. And so I asked a boy in the class, it wasn't Johnny this time. I asked a boy in the class, tell me the longest sentence you have heard. And the boy said, life imprisonment. Life imprisonment. Dr. Troop, I nearly choked him, but I remember that I have to exercise the self-control because I didn't want to experience the longest sentence that he heard. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now be greeted, be serenaded with an item by Mr. Oren Thomas, singer. Shall we welcome him, please?
Wow. All protocols observed. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. This afternoon, it's such a pleasure to be here with you all, celebrating an awardee who I think is very well deserved. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Oren Thomas, but today, can I be frank? Thank you. So I call Cecilia Grant Francis Sister Fran, so I'll call her Sister Fran. All right? So I'm sure that this afternoon, well, I believe, let me not say I'm sure that, I believe that this afternoon, Sister Fran may be very proud because she would have said that today I accomplished one of my dreams to receive the highest award in the JTA. But I don't think that it stops here. I think that she, like all of us, may have more dreams, goals that we want to accomplish, things that we aim for. And this song that I'm going to sing this afternoon, it's an encouragement, a reminder that with God at our side, we shall chase those dreams. Climb every mountain, search high and low, follow every byway, every path you know. Climb every mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow, till you find your dream, a dream that will need all the love you can give every day of your life. For as long as you live, oh, climb every mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow, till you find your dream, a dream that will need all the love you can give every day of your life. For as long as you live, climb every mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow, till you find your dream, your dream.
He's deserving of another round of applause. Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas. I noticed that an item comes after the guest speaker. I was looking to see if it's your name. One of the items that we look forward to on the program at a function like this is the presentation by the guest speaker. One of the things I don't know a lot about Reverend Henlin, but one of the things I know about him, he knows when to give the fowls a full bag of corn and when not to. Shall we put our hands together as we welcome our guest speaker?
I'm never sure what that means at all. But I think you feel threatened by a Baptist preacher. And rightly so. Master of Ceremonies, newly ordained, Mr. Devon Meek. Honorable Stedman Fuller, Custos Rotolorum for the parish of Kingston, representing His Excellency the Governor General, Dr. Kassan Troop, representing the Minister of Education, Dr. Angela Brown Burke, who I'm seeing for the first time in my life in person, and I've longed to meet you. I mean, as a pastor. Mr. Winston Smith, President, Mrs. LaSonia Harrison, President-elect, Reverend Kirk Pinnock, Dr. Mark Nicely, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and then our most distinguished honoree, Mrs. Cecilia Grant Francis. I join everyone this afternoon in congratulating you on being awarded the highest honor conferred on a Jamaican educator by the Jamaica Teachers Association. An honor bestowed by one's peers is an honor indeed. And I join in thanking you, as all the speakers have done, on behalf of a grateful nation for your devoted and outstanding service. I actually thought that someone would have introduced me as a son of teachers in this setting, because that is what gives me added privilege and honor to be standing in front of educators and, in a sense, hoping that I am a good representative of teachers, the product of teachers. And I want to say to you, Mrs. Cecilia Grant Francis, that I also extend congratulations to you on behalf of the Jamaica Baptist Union, an organization I serve as vice president. And you should know that the entire Baptist constituency is proud of you. And we give thanks that for numbers of years, our church family has offered to this nation a pantheon of excellence in the numbers of teachers who serve this nation. I congratulate the Jamaica Teachers Association for your ongoing contribution to the cause of developing the people of this nation for these 57 years, agitating for teachers' rights and for just compensation, striving to achieve the highest potential for your teachers, our teachers, and generally in the cause of improving the education sector in our country. We're living in challenging and changing times. What with the technological advance, the increase in knowledge, we live in a digitized world which enables us to be in touch with each other in the twinkling of an eye. We live in a world in which we are surrounded by gadgets of every size and kind, aided by artificial intelligence. We live in a world which bombards us with loads of information, making the ability to keep pace that more difficult, and the competence to discern truth from error becoming a daily challenge. Yet, in spite of that, with all of the progress this world has achieved and attained, we live in a world of changing and shifting values. Those of you who study what can be called the cultural mood of the age would know that we have long gone past the age of modernism, and that has given way to the age of postmodernism. But even that is fast removed from our space and time. And we are living at a time when everything can be titled post-truth, post-Christian. We're living at a time when we are not even sure to what kind of philosophy can we anchor our values. And we live at a time when institutions once depended upon for guidance regarding truth and error, regarding what is good and acceptable, what is proper conduct, all these have been sneered at, ignored, and attempts have been made to discredit every traditional source of authority in our land and world. The parent fast losing his or her authority. The pastor long gone. The principal, the teacher, fast losing. The policeman, and all those who have served as bedrocks and models, offering inspiration when it comes to standards of conduct and behavior, all those have been eroded. And yet, we gather together to honor a teacher. And someone might ask, what is that? And who is that? And perhaps we could all agree that a teacher is basically someone who imparts something of value which will result in a transformation of sorts. New competencies, new skills, new awareness, new knowledge, new insights, and a new outlook. The teacher engages in tasks and programs which anticipate and are geared toward some kind of change. And because many of us know, all of us gathered this afternoon are students and are quite knowledgeable, you know that somewhere in the Latin rootage of this word, concepts such as extracting the best in a person, or leading someone out of darkness, or allowing someone to breathe and to become, or to rear and to train, all these are related to this concept of education. Our honoree, Mrs. Cecilia Grant Francis, has served long and well. But even she herself, and all of us gathered together this afternoon, would agree that notwithstanding her laudable efforts, and notwithstanding the combined efforts of so many across the decades of time in this land, we have to say that the context of our present lives makes us wonder, how did we come to this? How did we come to this reality in Jamaica, where a clear and present danger attends upon us? We awaken every morning knowing that we are a people moving from one crisis to the other. And perhaps if we would combine all the crises together in Jamaica at this present time, we have to say that two things emerge as those which mark the reality of our present lives and time. The first one is what we all know, the increasing incidence of crime and violence. And the second one is what we may well now describe as endemic corruption. We live in a time of changing values and attitudes. And one of the portraits of this is the presence of increasing crime and endemic corruption, which have become twin siblings and consistent bedfellows, the one thriving off the other. The upsurge in murder has gone to new heights, no, descended to new depths. Committed with arrogance and brazenness. And that does frighten us and ought to make us worry about our personal safety. No wonder all the housing developments in Jamaica today are gated, seemingly trying to keep out something. But perhaps we may say, for we are celebrating a teacher and the teaching profession, that we are not merely concerned about our personal safety and well-being, but what emerges is this, that the increasing incidence of crime and violence reflect a general loss of regard and respect for human life. And attendant to that is the unquenchable greed for material possessions and the cold-heartedness which turns and transforms little boys into huge monsters of the worst kind. We have heard from the police that there are about 250 gangs in our country today. And we who are teachers and leaders should jointly ask, along with the anthropologists and the sociologists, from whence have they come? And we answer, they have come from among us. They have come from within us. They have been formed and shaped in a society which has too often bowed at the altar of the material, and a society in which conspicuous consumption has become the goal of the lives of too many. They have, in many cases, passed through our schoolrooms. And yet, we have to say, in spite of the glorious academic achievement of so many at the hands of so many of you and us together, we have succeeded in graduating or producing thousands of young men who live without a sense of community and who are contented to create havoc in our lives. Idle, unskilled, malformed, living often in communities of squalor, tantalized by the immediate access to the digital platforms which parade for them and on our streets conspicuous consumption. These together create a laboratory producing these monsters of the worst kind. Some persons in exasperation have concluded that the answer is to chop their heads off. But we know about Hydra. We know that nothing else but a new head would quickly arise. It is the dreadful truth of our land today. Attendant to this, there is a sense in which we could describe our nation as a nation composed of two sets of persons. Those who are being swindled every day and those who are swindlers. Those who are being swindled every day and those who are swindlers. In almost every sector of society, we are barraged with news of corruption as if it were in our national DNA. Someone seems to be always stealing something to get ahead. And the Auditor General's report has become an annual litany of our common sins. How can it be that so many appointed to high responsibility serving in government agencies and in the private sector. How can it be that so many are so often accused of raiding the barn for their personal advancement? How could it be? This what happened to me yesterday afternoon as I stood on the outside of an insurance agency. A young man comes to me and says, what does he call me? Father. Big man. Elder. We just feel that we can check about this, you know. What is it? I want you to look on them documents for me and tell me if they expire. He doesn't know how to make sense of anything on that paper, but he has a driver's license. How could it be? I was so happy to tell him, well, the fitness will expire in August. The registration expires next month, but you have to insure it today. These and more tell the story of a nation grown up, now maturing, with the capacity to make personal advancement without a commitment to hard work, without a commitment to diligence, but seeking an easy way out, which is always facilitated. And how troubled are we all to know that even the education sector has not escaped in terms of recent scandals. We ought to be careful, all of us today, because the next generation eagerly watches and they are learning. There is a need for greater levels of accountability at all levels in this nation if we are to make it safely out of the present darkness. 2 warrants are laid upon us as we gather to honor a teacher today, which will aid us in rescuing a nation now tottering on the edge of self-destruction. The first one is, I think, all of us got to combine our talents and resources to reimagine what education ought to be in this country in the 21st century and beyond. And secondly, and you will applaud, we have got to attend to the issue of rewarding the teacher justly and fairly. We salute the education system for many things. We have produced world-class scholars, scientists, artists, politicians, legal luminaries, and pastors. I think there has been a focus in recent years on STEM when we speak about how to prepare our students to face the challenges of this new world, so very important. But I say to us today that we are in danger of producing bright brutes. The whole nation needs a moral revolution, a reorientation of values, a commitment to a new ethic, a national code of conduct, if you like, which is founded upon understanding ourselves as a community, one common humanity, one common family in which nothing survives alone. Nothing survives without order, and where no relationship can survive without honesty, trust, and respect. What is needed is moral education, where ethics and etiquette, conflict resolution, and self-discipline are not now expected to be caught, but they have to be taught. It will demand that we resource our schools not only with the finest facilities in terms of technology, but that we understand our schools as centers of learning and formation. Centers of learning and formation. And that will demand a special kind of teacher. A teacher who is content not only to churn out information, but a teacher who models good character and who also embodies the values of the community. I read your story, Mrs. Francis, and I said I wouldn't bother to tell the story of my father because you exceed him. But you know, my father was many things at one and the same time. Teacher, library service chairman, electoral worker, gleaner, correspondent, justice of the peace, sports enthusiast, youth club leader in one person. And I think we all know that teachers across the ages of time have embraced wonderful duties and assignments way beyond the classroom. That's what makes a teacher who serves as a master of ceremony become a sanitizer on an occasion like this one. I'm not going to give him that again. For all of us, the classroom is actually a center where our students are held captive. And thus, with creativity and sensibility, we need to include in the curriculum a value-based program. I end today. We've got to reward our teachers. And I shall say some stuff now that some may find troubling. I think teachers have always struggled for what they believe is a just wage. And your president 2 days ago on news, I heard him saying that the teachers are restive about the current wage negotiations. I think you should all understand the relationship between corruption and your wages. Because billions lost and stolen over time could have enhanced the project of education. You should all take a stand against corruption as you clamor for better wages. I grew up in a teacher's home. Then after I graduated from school, I worked in the bank. I tell you, I was shocked. I was a teller. And teachers would line up each month to cash their checks. It was then I discovered something. I'd only just left school, out of sixth form. And when I looked at my salary and looked at what a teacher was earning, the gap was just too close. Too close. I think things might have improved since that time, hopefully so. But I tell you something else. Somebody says COVID-19 has exposed many things about our society which are always there, but which came to the fore. I noticed something. Numbers of parents at last came to understand the value of a teacher. Now with their own children at home, they began to cry out, we got to send them back out. And perhaps tonight, this afternoon, thinking about that, someone might be forgiven to conclude that perhaps the nation has always regarded teachers as a kind of domestic helper, rearing our children at the lowest cost. In the same way, our nurses too, our policemen, our fire personnel, thinking about it, have all emerged from the working classes, descending from the peasantry, and perhaps somewhere deep down are treated as hired help, unworthy of participating at particular levels in the economy, and thus remaining undervalued, underappreciated, and underpaid. I think that is something which needs serious cultural, historical, and socio-economic analysis as the way forward. Our teachers need to be rewarded because they play developmental and foundational work in shaping this nation and producing in our students somebody brighter, somebody bolder, somebody ready to take on the challenges of the world, somebody who becomes a decent citizen worthy of respect and honor. So, we congratulate again Mrs. Grant Francis. The fowls are having their corn. The nation owes a debt of gratitude to you. We all have work to do, whether retired or active, whether in the church or in the school, in politics, in government, in community, or in our homes. We all have work to do. We can rescue this nation. We can reimagine education, making moral formation an ongoing part of it. And we must reward our teachers, recognizing their worth and the role that they play. God bless you all, and thank you for listening.
What a powerful presentation. Let's hear it again for Reverend Henlin. We're living in a time of changing values and attitudes. And so we continue to see a moral decadence of our society. A time where there is unquenchable greed for material possessions. As teachers, we have an awesome responsibility, a responsibility to mold the minds of the future leaders of our society. I heard Reverend, as he mentioned, teachers becoming sanitizers. It speaks to the versatility of our teachers. It speaks to the diversity in the responsibility of our teachers. The duties we execute without compensation. I have no doubt, Reverend, that you'll be joining the call for teachers to be better compensated. Shall we give him another round of applause? It was the former President of the United States, President John Quincy Adams, who said, "If your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, to do more and become more, you are a leader." Teachers continue to be that kind of inspiration as we endeavor to make the change. We will be moving on to the next item on the agenda on our program. We will be entertained by Miss Barbara Branford, a saxophonist. After Miss Branford, we'll be having the reading of the citation, which will be done by Mr. Leon Nash, Administrative Officer, Communication and Public Relations. And following the reading of the citation and the Roll of Honour Award will be presented to Mrs. Cecilia Grant Francis by our President, Mr. Winston Smith. Shall we welcome Ms. Branford, please? Thank you.
The honor is mine. It's a pleasure to perform for you this afternoon. I was saying earlier that today the singer before me, that we are thinking along the same wavelength, meaning that both our performances are actually from the same era or the same time period, time frame, which leads me to believe that our time needs some form of refreshing. Our minds, our level of thinking, and the mantle is on all of you, right? And the pandemic has vastly, as the guest speaker said, showed us all our weaknesses and all that we need to do to curb the minds and hearts of our young people to enhance tomorrow so that the entertainers of tomorrow, along with ourselves when we're old, can make reference, just like I am making reference from my item now. It's entitled, You'll Never Walk Alone, followed by the Book of Rules.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Master of Ceremony, Custis, our President, our Secretary General, and definitely our esteemed honoree this evening. May I invite you to join me on stage. Please put your hands together for our honoree, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, this individual that we are about to speak about has an unwavering passion for the development and welfare of children and have made education a logical vocation for Cecilia Grant Francis, whose commitment, kind-hearted spirit, selfless and unbroken service for more than 46 years have benefited students, teachers, and countless persons in the Jamaican society. Please put your hands together one more time for her. In 1975, within months after graduating from Lacova Secondary School in St. Elizabeth, where she was deputy head girl, this go-getter began the pursuit of her professional dream and was assigned to grade 3 as a pre-trained teacher at Burns Savannah Primary School. She also assisted in managing the school's savings account program. During her tenure at this institution, she was introduced to the Jamaica Teachers Association and served as contact teacher, the first of 4 stints in her career. 1 year later, she was enrolled at the Bethlehem Teachers College in Malvern, St. Elizabeth, where she earned the trained teacher certificate with credit. She took up her first appointment as a trained teacher at Warsop All-Age School in Trelawney, where she energized the sports program in her capacity as sports house coordinator. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the competence of Mrs. Grant Francis as a sports administrator took the spotlight when she assumed duties as acting head of the sports department at Homewood Technical High School at the time in Manchester from 1982 to 1987. The netball team gained dominance, and under her guidance, the organizers of the zone rallies often relied on her skills as an umpire. A new job posting for her husband led her to Vera Technical High School in Clarendon in 1987. In what she describes as 13 fulfilling years, she was promoted to Senior Teacher 3, served as grade coordinator, textbook administrator, and also taught English language and English literature, as well as engaged in guidance and counseling. Her down-to-earth approach to leadership earned the respect of her students, her colleagues, and the wider school community, which she represented as president and the secretary of the Parent Teachers Association, while at the same time participating in several community organizations. This indefatigable educator, ladies and gentlemen, whose concern for other people is acknowledged wherever she goes, literally put the district of Kilsyth, Clarendon, on the map when she took the reins of principal of the primary and infant school in 2000. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it one more time for our honoree this evening. For the first time, students could be easily identified by their uniform. A no-nonsense, hard-working leader who was called by the name Miss Frano, as she was called, took sick children to the doctor, personally bought food items, and assisted the cooks with the breakfast program, which was established with assistance from Food for the Poor. A school leaving ceremony, followed by a dinner, as well as educational excursions, were among her other initiatives. Over her 5 years as principal, enrollment improved, as did the results in the Grade 6 Achievement Test, GSAT at the time, with many children earning places in the traditional high schools. The strides made by Cecilia Grant Francis at Kilsyth set the stage for her appointment as principal at Porus Primary School in Manchester, where she quickly earned the moniker of young principal from older members of the academic staff. Undaunted, she walked the campus frequently to ensure that quality content was delivered to students. To her credit, 6 teachers who worked during her administration subsequently became school principals. Isn't that a mark achievement? Put your hands together for her. Under her watch, student discipline improved significantly, due mainly to the innovative peer recognition strategy that she introduced. Students across all grades were invited to nominate candidates in categories including most improved academically, best behaved, best groomed, and winners were transported by limousine to the cinema, where they were greeted as celebrities on the red carpet in full view of their counterparts from name brand schools. That's Cecilia at work. With support from the business sector, footwear was purchased for needy students, and the principal provided training in grooming and etiquette for her young charges. The upscale graduation ceremony and the school leaving dinner, which she launched at Kilsyth, were also successfully introduced, as well as a breakfast program to assist students who attended school early to do homework. Cleanliness, ladies and gentlemen, has been a hallmark at schools headed by Cecilia Grant Francis, and the mobilization of parents, teachers, and community for the annual Labor Day project became a tradition during her 6 years at Porus Primary School in Manchester. The restoration of an unused building to accommodate a classroom and reading room, redevelopment of the computer room, and the establishment of a games court enhanced the learning environment for stakeholders at the institution. Mrs. Grant Francis holds a master's degree in teaching and learning from Nova Southeastern University in Florida, the bachelor's degree in educational administration from the University of the West Indies, the diploma in education from Church Teachers College, and the trained certificate from Bethlehem Teachers College. She has further honed her skills in several locally conducted short-term training programs. This long-standing member of the JTA has dedicated most of her professional life to institutions in the South Central region, which includes St. Elizabeth, her native parish, as well as Manchester and Clarendon. Her willingness to work for the region, which has served in several capacities, including President of the Clarendon Parish Association, is exemplary. As a result, ladies and gentlemen, of her dependability and her passionate loyalty, her colleagues named her Region and Garrison. The latter in reference to the region's dominance in the annual election for national president, a position for which she has also vied. At the national level, Cecilia Grant Francis has served on the JTA's General Council, Central Executive, and as a delegate to conference, where her assistance in preparing reports earned her the nickname Press. She has been a board member of the Tip Friendly Society for 10 years and is a former chairman of the Professional Advancement Committee. The recipient of the JTA's WBC Ben Hawthorne, Golden Torch, and the 50th Anniversary Awards, Mrs. Grant Francis was presented with the Prime Minister's Medal of Appreciation in 2015 in recognition of her contribution to education. Although retired, and I should say retired, she established a learning center which assists children to develop literacy and numeracy skills, and as well as promoting social graces. She's also president of the Manchester chapter of Retired Teachers and chairperson of the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission's Civic Committee. The Manchester Peace Coalition, the Friends of the Mandeville Hospital, and the Prison Ministry are among the many other organizations benefiting from the services of this avid community worker and justice of the peace, who in October, ladies and gentlemen, you should know, received the Custis of Manchester Award for assisting with the Health Department's COVID-19 vaccination program. Please put your hands together for her one more time. An active member of the Mandeville Baptist Church, Reverend Henling, she serves on the Youth Council, the Senior Choir, the Praise Team, and is a former president of the Women's Federation, always ready to assist with God's work. Bolstered by an unwavering faith, even amid challenges, Mrs. Grant Francis notes that God has blessed me in numerous ways, and so I believe in giving back and giving off myself. Ladies and gentlemen, the Jamaica Teachers Association salutes this honorable lady, Cecilia Grant Francis, for her lifelong contribution to education, It is our pleasure to present her with the 2021 JTA Roll of Honour Award and welcome you as the 52nd recipient. Ladies and gentlemen, our president will be coming now to make the presentation to our recipient. Come on, put your hands together. A big round of applause for Mrs. Cecilia Grant Francis. Push it to the back, push it to the back.
Colleagues, you would not imagine the pleasure I have in presenting to Mrs. Cecilia Grant Francis, and I prefer to call her Celia. I remember the first time I met her, she had invited and had selected me to work with her as a part of the nominating committee at Hip Friendly Society. I would have heard so many things about her, but I had the honor of working closely with her. And we became friends immediately. She supported me during my turn or my attempt at being president the first time around. And she never left me. And this afternoon, Cecilia, by the power vested in me, by the 57th conference of the Jamaican Teachers Association, which appointed me as president, I take great pleasure in presenting the 52nd Roll of Honour Award to you. And I trust that you continue to do the sterling work that you have been doing in education. May God continue to richly bless you, and that your life will transcend all things in eternity.
One more. Put it between you. Okay, stand up. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, kindly welcome our recipient with her reply.
I think Mr. Nash is trying to steal a position of wanting to be called a minister. But he is, indeed, he is a minister. Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Devon Meek, Regional Officer, Northeast Region, the Honorable Stedman Fuller, CD, JP, Custos Rotalorum of the Parish of Kingston, representing His Excellency, the Governor General, Dr. Kesson Troop, Chief Education Officer Acting, representing the Minister of Education, Youth and Information, Honorable Robert Morgan, Minister of State, Minister of Education, Youth and Information, that Mrs. Troop represented in his absence, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, Opposition Spokesperson on Education and Training, my friend and colleague, President Mr. Winston Smith, Mrs. Lasagna Harrison, President-elect of the JTA, Mr. Justford Gabriel, immediate past President in absence, my Minister, Reverend Carl Henlin, guest speaker, my personal friend and Minister, Reverend Kirk A. Pinnock and Mrs. Pinnock, pastor of the Mandeville Circuit of Baptist Church, where I am a member, Mr. Mark Nicely, newly named Secretary General of the JTA, my fellow past recipients, trustees, past presidents of the JTA, specially invited guests, members of the Central Executive and staff of the JTA, representatives of the media, fellow justices of the peace who are here celebrating with me, lawyer Senior Smith and company, members of my teaching fraternity, ladies and gentlemen all. The humble privilege is mine to thank you all for being a part of my educational and professional journey to this point. I am indeed most grateful to be the recipient of this noble award. To God, my Creator, be the glory, because this is something great that He has done for me. This afternoon, you have truly demonstrated your continued support by accepting the invitation to be here, celebrating my joy and achievement. Truly, this is a great feeling. My journey as a teacher started at the Burnt Savannah Primary School in St. Elizabeth. And you all know that this is the known breadbasket parish as a pre-trained. When I was not yet 17 years old, after 2 years, I entered the Bethlehem Teachers College, again in St. Elizabeth. I was successful in that I gained a credit pass as a trained teacher. I then worked for a few years, and not long after, I did my upgrading as a diploma teacher at the Church Teachers College. As I firmly believe that as a teacher, I must always upgrade myself with all the educational standards from time to time and be on the cutting edge of the educational status ladder, every time. After working as a diploma teacher for a few years, I was still not comfortable or felt that I should remain at this level. So I went to the University of the West Indies, where I did a course in educational administration, where I represented my JTA organization as the JTA representative on campus. And Mrs. Sadie Comrie can attest to that. Of course, I saw myself as an administrator, so I was motivated to do a course with Nova Southeastern University, where I pursued the master degree in teaching and learning. Though not a past president of this noble organization of the JTA, to be considered for this Honor Roll Award, it is truly a great honor and privilege. So thank you, my JTA. I am lucky to have you in my life. My professional journey in the JTA that I will never forget. I believe that I need such an organization to be there to support me in becoming the person I am today. As a trained teacher, I was always a contact teacher in the schools that I worked. From a contact teacher to a district association president, parish president for Clarendon for not just one stint, but 3 times. President of the Maypen Parish Association. I also represented the JTA nationally and internationally. I represented the JTA in Washington, D.C. at a conference. I was always a delegate to special conferences, a union delegate, president of the Professional Advancement Committee, member of various committees, such as the Research Committee, secretary of Central Executive, study circle convener, among many others in the JTA. Of course, I received all the other awards that were given in the JTA. And here I am receiving the highest award, a grudged award, a prestigious award, the Roll of Honour Award. My role as a contact teacher was most evident in all the institutions that I worked. And at the district association level, as a delegate, my colleagues would always depend on me to go and get information to return to them, as they know I stand as a genuine person. I then left Vere Technical High School for the University of the West Indies, where as a leader of my Group 3, I represented the group at the Tallahassee University in Florida. On my return, some of my colleagues mistakenly identified me as an education officer. On another occasion, while having a good chat with my colleagues, one member said to me, and I quote, "Celia, you don't belong here. You are not just a teacher. You are a teacher leader. now that you are back from university, Celia, you don't see that there's no progress here for you? Let me tell you something. If you can't ship up, then you need to ship out. End of quote. And we had a good laugh. But I took this gesture seriously and started applying for principal jobs. The God that I serve provided my first principal job at Kilsit Primary and Infant. And you would have heard before where the past principal, Mrs. Thomas, quoted, Miss Francis, you can put Kilsit Primary and Infant School on the map of Jamaica. What a woman you are. End of quote. Some achievements gained at this school that was placed in the Gleaner for the first term that I stayed at the school. This was another good feeling, a truly good feeling of achievement for me. Colleagues, friends, I am eternally grateful to some amazing people whose genuine support is the reason why I am here right now. To name a few, my minister of religion and my church family who are here with me celebrating this afternoon. I have my minister, other members and deacons and leaders of my church. They are all around here supporting me. Leaders and friends in the JTA, educational officers, principals, and the teaching fraternity, all on a whole who supported me. Without your help, I would not be receiving this noble award. Family members who are present and abroad, you know that I am from a humble but supportive family. As my mother died before I was 8 years old. But you all were there for me, my JTA and everybody else, my church family. Yes, you all supported me while I attended to the business of my noble JTA. Ladies and gentlemen, it is said, memories don't live like people do. They always stay with you. So the persons whom I worked with closely, such as principals, teachers, during my career, I salute you as those were some fond memories. Yes, there are some learning experiences that will certainly etched in my memory forever. The cooperation and suggestions received, even the resistance, is worth mentioning because there were, especially when you stand for certain principles and certain discipline. To be a teacher, principal, and as a professional, if it were not at all possible, and if I should do this, I will do this over and over and over again. Master of ceremonies, ladies and gentlemen, we are all aware that the education system is now different, equating the teaching and learning then in comparison to now. as the COVID-19 pandemic has brought us to a new dispensation. It has actually changed the entire world in how teachers are trained to teach children and the students' learning styles. It is really sad to know that since the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic, many of our children have not seen the likes of a physical or virtual classroom setting. We hear it ever so often, the numerous challenges that now exist for administrators, the Ministry of Education, teachers and students alike. It is my sincere hope and desire that the difficulties being faced now will soon be resolved in the shortest possible time, as students who are our future are suffering, and as a result, our educational system will make a complete turnaround for the success and comfort of everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, it is said, all good things must come to an end. With that said, I must, in the end, make mention of the conception of the birth of this noble award that I am now basking in as a humble, proud, and most grateful recipient. Be aware that the first such award was made in 1977 to three most worthy colleagues. The Jamaica Teachers Association continue this thoughtfulness in recognition of its members and volunteers who toiled tirelessly towards the progress of this noble association. This afternoon, December 2, 2021, I truly give God thanks to be the proud recipient, joining the great band of stalwarts who were before. Long lived the JTA. In concluding, I promise that I will never sit and relax, but I will continue to toil in passing on to the world the word of this great association and its supports and benefits towards its members as long as I can, in every possible way I can. Even though retired, I'm still working on behalf of my JTA. My colleague, retired teachers, they are here, as I am the president of the Manchester chapter of retired teachers, as we strive to continue to lift up the JTA. Mr. Master of Ceremony, Reverend Meek, Sir Custos, representing Mr. Patrick Allen, ladies and gentlemen, my colleagues all, long live the JTA as we continue to unite and serve.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Cecilia Grant Francis, the 2021 recipient of the Roll of Honour Award. Shall we all stand as we applaud her? outstanding contribution to education and nation building. Heartiest congratulations, Mrs. Grant Francis. Colleagues, we have to move with alacrity. COVID constraints and the regulations of the hotel, we must finish this function and have the refreshment and vacate the hotel by 6 p.m. We have 25 minutes so to do. I must, however, acknowledge the presence of Ms. Dorrit Campbell, Deputy Chief Education Officer, Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. Shall we put our hands together for her? I must also thank Ms. Branford for that item, fine display of artistry. Give her another round of applause. And so in the interest of time, well, before we go to the vote of thanks, there's a special presentation to be made to our Honorable Custos and our distinguished guest speaker. I will invite our President-elect, Mrs. LaSonia Harrison, to make the presentations. Reverend? Thank you, Madam P.E. Our Secretary General, Dr. Mark Nicely, will now move the vote of thanks.
Mr. Devon Meek, Regional Officer for the Jamaica Teachers Association Northeastern Region, and our Master of Ceremonies, Honorable Stedman Fuller, Custos of Kingston, representing His Excellency, the Governor General, Sir Patrick Allen, the Reverend Carl Henlin, Pastor Gregory Park Baptist Church, our guest speaker, the Reverend Kirk Anthony Pinnock, Pastor Mandeville Baptist Church, Dr. Kassan Troop, Acting Chief Education Officer, representing the Minister of Education, Youth and Information, Dr. in her absence just now, Angela Brown-Burke, Opposition Spokesman on Education and Training. I'd like to also welcome Dr. Winsome Gordon from the Jamaica Teaching Council and Madam Dorrit Campbell from the Ministry of Education. Our President, Mr. Winston Smith, our President-elect, Ms. LaSonia Harrison, our immediate past President, viewing online, Mr. Jasford Gabriel, Mrs. Cecilia Grant Francis, our 2021 Roll of Honour awardee, past Roll of Honour recipients, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Just before I get to the substance of the brief vote of thanks, I would want to a number of persons have been asking me how has it been since I've taken up this office, and I want to tell you a little bit about that. But before so, I want to acknowledge, in his absence, I believe he's viewing online. He told us when he was leaving, that is Mr. Byron Farquharson, that he would always be watching. And I want to acknowledge him watching, and of course continue to signal our gratitude for the sterling service which he has offered to our organization. So for those who have been asking me how it has been going, I won't answer the question, but I'll tell you some experiences. One evening I was leaving work and I was called by one of the security personnel who told me that my voice needed to change. Everything was okay, but my voice needed to change. On another occasion, I was told that my height needs to increase. And on another occasion, I was told that I need to grow my hair. So based on the experiences I've been having, you can of course tell what happened. But I want to tell you about the experience I've been having with the president. I drive a particular car and I had to move away from it temporarily, and I borrowed my mother's Hyundai van and parked beside him. As he descended from his Prado, he signaled profound dissatisfaction with the mode of transportation, and he did so for many days. It so happened that I had to start driving a Toyota Yaris. At that point, he stopped talking to me altogether. Only this evening, and when I speak, I want you to see it as a true story, but perhaps as a warning and perhaps even as a parable. Only this evening when I was leaving, 2 security guards came to me, 2 of our security guards that we pay, might I add, to advise me that they have been instructed by the chief accountant that if I were to drive back onto the premises with the Yaris, that the orange cone should be placed at the Secretary General's parking place. You know, as I reflect on Reverend Henlin's presentation and him talking about the teachers needed to be remunerated properly, I will not drive back with the Yaris. But I am in the spirit of negotiation, Mr. President. I am negotiating to get a motorbike. And Mr. President, in the spirit of one-off payments, I said to myself, at the very least, I should be able to acquire a Honda 50. But I'm hearing some soundings, Mr. President, from further up the road that what I might be offered is a scooter 13. Mr. President, the struggle continues. And the last time something like this happened, all kinds of things happened. One president spoke about the kind of injection that might have been administered. And Mr. President, I recall you marching in black. Yes, it still can fit you. So I continue. I take this opportunity to extend my personal congratulations to our 2021 Roll of Honour awardee, Mrs. Cecilia Grant Francis. From you entered the classroom and our profession as a young woman, and through your more than 4 decades of service, you have been an inspiration and have set an excellent example for your students and colleagues with whom you have worked. We thank you indeed to welcome all our guests here today. Your support for excellence in education, which underpins the Roll of Honour Award. We're especially delighted. This has been a wonderful after this function. But of course, there are persons who, pastor of the Mandeville Baptist Ceremonies, Mr. Devon Meek, who ably guided and sanitized us through the program. Thank you, sir. The Honorable Stedman Fuller, the Custos of Kingston, who represented the Roll of Honour patron, His Excellency, Sir Patrick Allen, is a loyal friend of education and the JTA. We thank you, sir, for graciously filling your role as representative of our Governor General. Our guest speaker, the Reverend Carl Henlin. Can we give him a hand, please? He is indeed drawing closer and closer to becoming the official chaplain of the Jamaica Teachers Association. He addressed us with his usual candor and also gave us much food for thought. Dr. Casson Troop, who represented the Honorable Favour Williams, Minister of Education, Youth and Information, is, like Minister Williams, virtually a member of the Jamaica Teachers Association. We thank you for your supportive message, and we hope to continue strengthening our relationship with the Minister of Education. It is clear in our absence that the administration of education holds special significance for Dr. Angela Burke-Williams, opposition spokesman, Burke-Brown, my apologies, Brown-Burke, thank you, and Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, opposition spokesman on education and training. We thank her for sharing with us her perspectives on the education system. To Mr. Leon Nash, who so ably and eloquently read the citation, we thank him for a job well done. And what would this function be without entertainment? And so we thank Mr. Thomas and Ms. Bradford for your beautiful presentation, and beautiful they were. All this would not have been possible without the guidance and work of our team behind the scenes. The Roll of Honour Selection Committee, which evaluated the nominations submitted by our teachers, Dr. Charmaine Gooden-Monteith, the JTA Deputy Secretary General, and her team, who coordinated arrangements for this function, Ms. Beverly Newman, the communication consultant who assisted the team and wrote the citation, Newell, who assisted the team and wrote the citation, photographer Mr. McKay, and videographer Mr. Walton, who have worked with us for many years, as well as the stream team who facilitated online viewing by members of the function, by members of the education fraternity. And finally, the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, which facilitated the arrangements for this venue. Just a public announcement, in a glitzy setting like this, the recommendation is to dine and dash. Once again, I thank you for all your participation, and I pray that God will grant you traveling mercies as you return to your respective homes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nicely. I am happy that your status did not decline to a bicycle. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the 2021 Roll of Honour Award presentation ceremony. The success of the afternoon we achieved because of your immense contribution. We thank you very much. Let us continue to unite and serve. Shall we stand as we allow the special guests to exit the room? Mr. President, will you lead the team to the refreshment here? Got some pictures? Okay. Mr. Nash, you want to monitor that aspect of it?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Master of Ceremony has already indicated that we have come to the end of the session. And so at this time, we're going to be inviting our president to come forward, President-elect, our Augustus. Of course, the recipient, of course. Would like you, for this photograph, could you just come on stage, please? And of course, Bishop, Pastor Henlin. For the first one, for the first one. Yes. Come up, P. In the meantime, for those persons who are not going to be taking photographs, please make your way on the outside.